Hello, Miami. This is 305 Sports Now, your home podcast and channel for all things Miami sports related. I am Will, and joining us today, I'm a huge fan of this individual and his playing days from the University of Miami and the NFL, so I'm very grateful he is on. Is a former national champion, former first-round pick of the San Francisco 49ers, and currently, actually also, let's not forget, also former defensive back coach for the Miami Hurricanes and two-time state champion at American Heritage. Yes, the resume just continues. And currently the assistant director of recruiting for his alma mater, and mine too, the University of Miami, Coach Mike Rumph. What's up, Coach? How's it going?
What's up? Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Yeah, everybody's fine, man. Everybody's fine, man. You know, we can't complain, dude. It's not raining, so that's a good sign, for today.
Down here in Florida, man, that rain come out of nowhere. So
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's still people swimming in Fort Lauderdale right now. So, one of the things I like to do when I have a first time guest such as yourself is I like to do like an origin story because I like my listeners to get to know, the person, that I'm talking to. We know Mike, the football player, but we also want to know Mike, the person. So before we started, before we went over some prep, before the interview started, you told me about your playing days in Pee Wee football and how you developed your style in terms of a smacker. Can you tell us a little bit of how you got into football and how later on it created an illustrious career with the University of Miami?
So my little league football started in 1988. I can remember practicing, and I When a Rock came on. It Takes Two. That song, It Takes Two, came out that summer, and I was in the middle of practice. So I'm trying to put you in the same timeline as
Okay.
when I was out practicing. But I was with Delray Rocks. From Boynton Beach. Let's not get that confused because everybody swears I'm from Delray, but I'm born and raised in Boynton, but I played in Delray. And I was playing for the Rocks, and I was about 8 years old. And, I first originally fell in love with equipment. I love the helmet. I love pads. I just love getting dressed. I love the smell of it. And I can remember sleeping in my helmet. Like, I was so excited about practice and having pads that I slept in my helmet. And, the morning it was off, but I tried to go to sleep in it because I loved it that much. But one of the crazy things about it, so I grew up with a single father. My mom passed away when I was 8 months in a car accident. So I grew up with a dad who was always there for me, and I grew up with two grandmothers that were great. And but all my friends had a single parent mom, but they didn't have a dad. So I was like the opposite in my neighborhood. So I was real envious because I didn't have that mother figure around that I could hug and kiss and all that stuff. So when it came to football on game day, all those moms out there cheering for their sons. And I can remember, the moms running on the sideline, go Johnny, go Johnny. And it pissed me off so much. Like, I was trying to hurt Johnny. Like, that was my number one goal, to knock Johnny ass out, right? So I had some aggression at 8 years old that was pent up, and it helped me release it by being a physical player. And fast forward to when I got 14, I went to part two. I went to the Boynton Beach Bulldogs, which is a local team close to where I'm from. And the physicality just continued. I wore number 42 because I wanted to be like Ronnie Lott. I became a safety, and that carried on to high school, which carried over to college, and that carried on to the NFL. So my physicality came as an 8-year-old, just being bitter that I didn't have a mom in the house.
That's incredible. So you knew exactly what position you wanted to play from a very young age of 8 years old. You wanted to be basically Ronnie Lott, you know.
Yep.
But now going into the high school age in general, when I was looking up your story, you had offers from Florida State, you had offers from OSU, Ohio State, the Ohio State University, and then also obviously the Miami Hurricanes. UM was a bit of in a transition at the time, and I would say that Florida State was the more prominent power at the time because they had guys, like Peter Warwick and so on. What made you choose the University of Miami as far as the school, your school of choice?
Great question, man. So, like I said, I had offers from all over the country, man. I was getting offers from my end of my freshman year, sophomore year, and I could have went anywhere, and I could have visited anywhere, but I only visited two schools, and one was Ohio State because I want to see snow. That's the only reason I went up there. Florida boy, never seen snow, and I got up there, and it was like 30 degrees, and there was no snow, and I hated the cold, so I was like, I know I don't want to play up here. And I was already committed to UM. I committed to UM as a junior. So then I came back that's when the social media was starting to get out, and it was some rumors that I was going to Ohio State. So I got back. I called all my coaches at U. I'm like, hey, don't worry. I'm a Cane. I'm shutting it down. I'm not visiting anywhere else except for Miami. Came on my Miami visit. I was blown away. And, that's how I became a Cane. But between how I grew up, just to put this in context, you either went to you either went to Florida State, or you either went to Miami. You didn't go out of state. So that's just how I was raised. So I was looking at Florida. They recruited me early, but they kind of shut it down. And then I was looking at Florida State, which they stayed on me until the last minute, until the day I signed. But it was just something about the Canes, man. I just catch the Metro Rail, the Tri-Rail down from Palm Beach to the Metro Rail, and then go all the way around through downtown and get off right at Coral Gables and walk to practice and watch them. And coming off a 5-7 season, that 1997, they were 5-7. There was the hardest working team I've ever seen, and the most accountable team. They didn't have coaches out there in the summer, but they ran practice very strict, and the older heads on the team was the one telling everybody what to do and holding people accountable. And I just thought these people, they looked like me, they talked shit like me, they were tough, and I like, this is close to home. My dad can watch me play. So I decided to stay a Cane, and I stayed committed, and it's the best decision I ever made.
Yeah. Well, in high school, you're a top 50 player, coming out of high school, and I believe you were ranked the fourth best cornerback in the country, if I'm not mistaken. Did they recruit you as a two-way player, or was it strictly only for defense?
Well, only recruited me as a safety, but the first I got to remember, I was the top safety in the country. When I got to Chuck Pagano moved me to corner the first day I got, and it was like it was a good challenge for me because I was a track kid. I ran track my whole career. I even ran track at as well, so I could run a little bit, and I was bigger and I was physical. So they wanted to try me at corner, and so okay, real quick story to that.
Go ahead.
When I came down and watched Ed Reed practice, I thought I was better than Ed Reed. So remember, I'm a safety, so I'm coming in watching the safeties. This guy red shirt. He redshirted. He had weird feet, the little pigeon toe. And I'm like, this guy, he's good, but I can beat him out, right? So the day I get here, they move me to corner, and Ed Reed would not talk to me. Like half the DBs wouldn't talk to me, and I didn't know why. And they were like, these guys are cocky freshmen. We heard that you were telling people. I told Ethnic Sands that I was going to take a position in the All-Star game, and told someone, and that someone told someone, and it got back to Ed. So when I got on campus, Ed Reed did not see eye to eye with me. And it wasn't until after my freshman year, which I started as a freshman about 5 or 6 games, and Reed started as a freshman some games. So we played together, but we really didn't get along. On the field, we got along, but off the field, he didn't talk to me. We didn't mess with each other like that until that spring. We ran track, and Ed and I became like best friends through like running track and being around each other a little bit more. He finally said, look, you were cocky, and I had to humble you, and that's why I didn't talk to you our freshman year. And to this day, we've been the best of friends.
Well, that's great to hear because you guys were amazing on the field together. I'll tell you that much. I mean, you totally balled out at the University of Miami. You had 167 total tackles as a Cane. You had 117 of them were by yourself, and that's being a corner, as well. 6 interceptions, and you deflected 27 passes. You were a great combination of speed and power at the cornerback position. Basically, I don't think there's a wide receiver in the NCAA that I've ever wanted to be in front of you, while you were playing that press coverage that they like to play at the University of Miami. But the one thing about your career and Ed Reed and going on the offensive side of the ball and Andre Johnson and of course Clint Portis is that you guys, whenever you talk to anybody within Florida or outside of the state of Florida, with the exception of one ESPN commentator that still won't let that go, you guys are considered the greatest college football team ever assembled. In a time period, between 1999 and 2002. When you were recruited and when you were playing on that field, did you ever think that you would be a part of such greatness?
Nah, not at the time. We did not feel that way, but I can honestly say that came from work ethic that was started in the early 80s, man. Like when I was here, I thought it was all us, but now that I'm older and I look back, the main theme of was just the work ethic. We had tremendous talent. We were super competitive. We played in some big games. We had a really good coaching staff. Most people don't know, like at least 8 or 9 of my coaches on that staff became head coaches, whether in the NFL, college. So we had great staff, and I just think the timing was perfect with the whole timing with the BCS computer thing or whatever. That kind of went away once we all went away to NFL. But I just think the timing of it all is what made us so special. We really worked really hard. We were super competitive, and we wanted to dominate. I can remember coming out of my sophomore year, which we were 9-4. The word was like dominate, and we did it in the summers in the weight room. We went above and beyond, and as far as like we would lift for 2 hours, then we go run a hill by ourselves, or we'll go. The O line was pushing a pickup truck back and forth across the field, like the O line. And we were like, we don't just want to beat team, we want to beat them by 20. And within that 2000 year, we went 11-1, and we did a great job dominating. And then my senior year was just off the charts as far as dominating. But it was just timing, work ethic, super competitive, combined with a bunch of talent. And I think, for sure, we made history as being the best college team in college history football.
Yeah, when you guys beat Florida State in 2000, by the way, I was at that game. You hadn't beaten Florida State, I believe, in about 7 years. That was my opinion, one of the greatest college football game I'd ever seen, and my favorite Miami FSU game of all time. Also because I was there, and it was just the drama was compelling. How did you guys feel, when you finally got that monkey off your back and you beat the Florida State Seminoles at home in front of 83,000 people? I think were at that game that day.
Amazing. That's one of my probably the best feeling I've ever had after a game, just to see the fans rush the field and just interact with everybody in the Orange Bowl. And it was just amazing, that feeling after that game, and to get the monkey off our back. But 2 things happened. One thing I can tell you more about, but that week it rained all week. And we got the Florida State song playing all week long. So they play it in the locker room, in the shower, at practice. So in the game, you don't really hear it no more because we've been listening all week. That's one thing we do in preparation of them. And Butch Davis has always been that kind of untouchable coach. Like Coach Coker, we can mess around and like slap. What's up, Coach? Or Coach dance for us. Coach Coker or Dan, he'll do some crazy dance. But Butch was like, oh shit, okay, here's Butch. Butch Davis. So that was the difference. So we were running off the field. It was flooded. It rained all week. It was drenched in water everywhere. And we were running, diving, and sliding out of practice. And Coach Davis ran and he slid. And I'm just telling you, like, it went from like, oh shit, we're about to play Florida State and we haven't beaten them in a long time, to we're about to beat Florida State, because Coach Davis kind of, he relaxed a little bit. We had never seen him like that. So that was, I can honestly say, that vision of him sliding that water, showing a different side of him, is what really gave us that go over the hump. Let's go ahead and beat the hell out of this team, right? Secondly, and I can't say much about this, but during the game, before the game, the alumni base is going crazy because they're like, you guys got to uphold. I'm just telling you, the 80s, them boys played a big role in the 90 Hurricanes, and they're all like there at the game, like, y'all got to do this. And a prominent former player was in there talking a lot of stuff, saying, if you make this play, we're going to make sure we take care of you. So I'm like tying my shoes, like, what? How did this say what? And bro, so I had 2 picks that game, if you think about it, but both of them got called back. One, I was covering on Snoop Menace. Snoop Menace.
Yeah, Snoop Menace, yeah.
He ran a slant, and I gave him a light, change direction, little jersey tug, and I dove and I picked it off. I picked off a slant. So I'm like, I got to pick Florida State. Everything in Florida State is like, I'm going to make it to the league off this game. I'm going to get paid crazy money off this game. Like, everything falls in tail with beating Florida State. So I got to pick. So I'm like, I'm good. Flag, pass interference. And you can go back and watch this on YouTube or whatever. They gave me PI. Second interception. He's running a 14-yard comeback. I'm watching his hips. I'm running, and his hips drop. My hips drop. I'm big, but I'm quick as far as stopping and changing direction. I change direction. I drive back on the route, and I don't look at it. I just drive as hard as I can. And when I look, the ball hits me in my chest. Bam. So I dove, and Snoop Menace, he catches the ball with me. So we both got the ball. And we're on the ground rolling and fighting, and possession always goes to the receiver. So I should have had 2 picks against Florida State, man. Well, I always said it would have changed the course of my career, but I think I did a good job despite that. But yeah, that was but like I said, Shahi caught the pass and the fans rushed the field. When they kicked that last field goal, I dove. If you look back at the film, the wind, I could feel the wind of the ball go by my fingers. I almost blocked that kick. But my memories of that game. 2 picks that were called back, almost blocking the kick, and then the fans rushing the field.
Yeah, that was a great game. I remember that was that was a flood. I used to work at Publix, during that week, and I had tickets to go to the game. I'm like, no matter what, I'm going to that football game. And I remember I had to leave my car there because back then, I drove a small sedan, and when I got home, I had like ankle high water. I had to walk to my house because I couldn't drive my car. And I remember, yeah, it was a major flood. But yeah, that was. I mean, I still have great memories of that game. I painted my face like a skull. When I was there, I lost my voice for like 2 days. Yelling in the game. So I mean,
how old were you then?
I think I was 20. I think yeah. I was about 20 years old. Yeah, I'm a fan, man.
Yeah.
A big fan of the university. So that was, I mean, to me, that was like, that's when I knew the U was back. And I told your former teammate Brian Fury that 2000 team is very underrated. You had that one hiccup against Washington, which it should have been a Canes victory. And of course, we all know what happened with that computer, how they gave Florida State the second. I think they ranked them second, just slightly because Oklahoma finished undefeated that year. And you guys pounded on Florida when you could have pounded on. I think you would have pounded on OU and won that. I agree with Coach Davis. You would have slaughtered, Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl. I don't think it would have been even close, personally speaking.
No doubt.
But go ahead. I'm sorry, Coach.
Nah, yeah, we won Oklahoma bad, and I know some of those guys to this day, and they were like, bro, we didn't want to play you guys. We act like we did, but we didn't want to play you guys, So that goes both ways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But in 2001, you left no doubt. You beat the hell out of everybody you face, including embarrassing Washington, as well at home. I think it was like 51-0 that game was. You left no doubt that you were the better football team.
It was 60-something because, what they did to us over there, it was traumatic because, remember, we're all from Florida. We've barely been anywhere. And to fly over like 5 hours to Washington, I mean, it's mountains and shit in the background. It's snow. So the whole trip, we're like this, like, we're like, bro, like, where are we at? And it wasn't until like mid-game, we're like, hold up, we got to whoop this team butt, And by that time, we were falling behind. They kept hitting Jeremy Stevens up. They kept going empty over there in Washington and hitting Jeremy Stevens, isolate him on the linebacker. This guy like 6'8", he played like 10 years in the league. God bless the dead Chris Campbell. He was going over Chris.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they gave a bad PI call to me late in that game. I jumped a dig, and the contact was like bang, bang, and they called a flag on me. I think Santana dropped the punt or something. But, yeah, that game right there. And then here's what was traumatic. They was barking at us after the game. So I remember their coach going over. They had all the recruits on the sideline, and their coach was like, you don't want to go to Miami? You want to be a Husky? And he was telling them that we left the field, and we were all emotional and crying. And we go in the locker room, and they were like, they was all barking at us. So that's why when they came back to Miami, we had to put it on them that night game over there when they came down here.
Yeah, actually, I think the score was 62-7, and 51-0 was Syracuse. There we go.
Yes.
Yeah. That's so no, you totally smacked them. You smacked them around. I remember that. That was a great one. So you win the national championship, and Oklahoma. I'm not Oklahoma. You played Nebraska. In the Rose Bowl. And you finally achieve victory. You get your 5th national championship as a school. You get your national championship as a player. What was that like? That feeling?
It was great, man. Just to be in Century City over there, and went over there in California was amazing. It was something that we've always wished and dreamed of, and it was great. But here's the thing that was crazy, and I always tell all my this is my biggest thing now that I'm 43. Just taking the moments, because like I was so busy, like, who's my agent? I'm about to go get this money. I can't wait to get drafted. And I really didn't take it all in that I was a national champ. I was so ready to fast forward and go to the NFL that I really didn't sit back and like take it in, to the point where I barely remember that game, So nowadays, and it started when I was coaching at American Heritage, when I was the head coach there. I take time and I sit behind the bus, or I go stand up somewhere and just take it all in, the moments. Because when you get older, all you have is those memories. And I hate that people sometimes speed through and don't take it all in. Even in my bad situations, I sit back and I reflect on what's going on, and I try to remember those moments. So I can honestly say I love the Rose Bowl, and it was great what we did. But until I watched the film, I really couldn't remember everything because I was so on to the next.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a great game. It was, you guys dominated. You basically made the Heisman Trophy winner that year, Scott Frost, look really, 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 really amateurish, as far as your defense goes.
Yeah.
I know you don't need much motivation to play a national championship game. I mean, I think that should be motivation enough. But is there anything that Coach Davis said to you? I'm sorry, Coach Davis, Coach Coker said to you guys that kind of pumped you up a little bit more, or anything that was said by the media in reference to Nebraska probably going to run all over you guys? And that was mentioned a couple of times because of the option that they ran, that kind of like, oh, we're going to get these guys and we're going to show them exactly who we are.
Yeah, that's what that they did play it that way in the media. Like, if anybody picked Nebraska, it was all about they were bigger, they were more physical than us, and they had this all-world quarterback and just a tough team. And that style of offense was something that we wasn't used to playing against. That's why they were going to beat us. They were using that. But man, you know what? Like, I think everybody feared that except for us because we were just so confident in our toughness. And I think people underestimated our discipline. With triple option, you just got to be disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And did a good job all week of everybody. There's a guy hitting the dive in the mouth. There's a guy hitting the quarterback in the mouth, and there's a guy hitting the ball carrier in the mouth. We practiced without a ball, so all three aspects of triple option had to be taken care of. And we had a good practice. Some of the things we did in the game, we did them in practice. The weird thing was, up there in the Coliseum, every day we would find someone with a camera hiding in the stadium trying to record us to see how
really?
we're going to option. Yeah, we would be in practice, and we'd be like, "Coach, security, check, look. And it'd be some guy like out there laying down, like in the stands, like trying to record us. And then he'd just get up and run every single day. It was the funniest thing ever. And so we knew, like, they're trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do. But I think we just hit him in the mouth, man. Vilma balled out his mind, like Andre. I'm like, there's no way. They had a top corner, Craver. I'm like, bro, there's no way nobody can cover this 6'3", 230-pound guy for 4 quarters playing man-to-man. Like, I dare you, because I go against him every single day, and I'm a top corner in the country, and I struggle with this guy. So I knew he literally picked up Andre Johnson, picked Craver up, moved him out the way, and then ran a freaking go route. And next thing you know, he's like the MVP of the whole game.
Yeah.
One of the things I remember the most, this shows you how we were before that game. We're in the lobby of a hotel preparing to go to the national championship, about to get on the bus and ride to the stadium. And Vince Wilfork's down there on a piano, pretending that he's playing the piano, and we're all singing along. And you would have thought we were about to go to a picnic. Like, there was no nerves, no just jitters. Just when you see a big 350-pound dude sitting down, relaxed, you know he's a beast. Everybody kind of just calmed down and like, let's go play football, man.
Yeah, well, for the younger audience members that maybe don't remember that year, Vince Wilfork was on the bench, all right, during that time period. This is how good Coach Rumph's team was. Vince Wilfork, Sean Taylor, Frank Gore were all bench players. Okay, yep. That is how good that University of Miami football team did. And not only that, Coach Rumph, then you go from your days as a collegiate athlete, all right, and then you transition into the NFL, and you were picked 27th in the first round by the San Francisco 49ers.